Hello, this is a little update on how it's been going with the Craftsman Red Eye here. I took her up to 400 cuts last night and did so also with the Kershaw Bel Air. And yeah, after 400, the Kershaw will still slice and push cut just about newsprint. I will attempt a demonstration with this scrap of paper here. So it feels a little rough, but it wasn't that smooth to start on this knife. I think that they put a toothier edge on this one from the factory, perhaps. That's maybe just a hunch. Than that which came with the Craftsman. And so this was feeling so smooth. And being the underdog, I was kind of rooting for this one and saying, wow, wouldn't that be something, right? If it turns out that the $15 knife beats the $150 knife, or more dollar knife, depending on which iteration and what price you're paying for it and what have you. Manufacturer's recommended retail, I think, is $250, but Kershaw say they're selling it for $200. So, nah, that didn't happen. There was some glinting appearing during the rope cutting, and that eventually, that was only going to go one way, and so it was trapping, and it wasn't allowing me to complete this cut here. So I resharpened, I kind of trued up the blade a little bit, sharpened, call it a light reshaping, very light reshaping and sharpening. And I did some whittling on this slingshot that I started with the Dolica. And we discovered that the red eyes, they will bleed onto your whittling. Not a major problem. But yeah, that suggests that finish is not going to be there forever on the thumb studs. Yeah, so whittling, very satisfactory. The ergos are good, as I had assessed. It does tend to kind of want to push you into the choil here a bit, but I haven't been, really digging in that hard in the hammer grip or anything, doing this kind of thing. And I find that when I do this, I get pretty quick edge wear. Really start to notice or it's just that I notice it more, because it'll keep cutting and cutting and cutting, but you'll start to lose that ability to make really clean cuts. This happened earlier, and I stropped it back, and it responded very well to the strop honing. So I would say that, yeah, it's a pretty easy blade to sharpen and hone. However, that hone, the effect didn't last for long. So we kind of got it back again, but not quite like before. Yeah. So I'm past the point of optimum performance, and now I would need to resharpen. And this is interesting because, you say, well, it's 400 cuts, push cutting through sisal rope, and it just kept going. Yeah, but the tip kept cutting because it's so thin. It kept on cutting, but it was mashing itself. So I noticed that when I resharpened, the first resharpening, the steel here was still very compromised. So then I just kind of took that steel off, took the whole apex off, and started again. But even now, I might be dealing up at the tip here with the repercussions of all of that cutting. And this is also a consideration that who knows how far back the stress that I put into the steel went into this blade, but it seems to be revealing to me that is what happened, it kept on cutting and cutting. But really, that was the factory edge to start out. It was probably a compromised steel to start out. And so then that compromised steel, all the fracturing and torsion and everything that I'm putting into it is working its way into the good steel behind it. But, you know, that was the test, right? To test the factory edge. Otherwise, of course, it's recommendable when you get your brand new knife, first thing you want to do is sharpen off that factory edge and put the edge on it that you think is going to be appropriate for what you want to do. And meanwhile, this is showing very little, if any, visible sign of, I mean, the fact that there was some flecks of paper there could suggest that there is some toothiness trapping that, you know. And yeah, I'm seeing a kind of a glint along the bead there. Suggests that it's kind of been punched back in on itself a bit. But as I say, you know, it's still cutting. So that's a good result. And we've only really just started all this rope cutting testing here, but I'm enjoying it. And have the current reigning champion here that maybe I'd actually like to get around to sharpening and carrying and using. So I need a strong contender, right? And maybe I have one here in the form of this Bestech. It has had some very light use. It's not an absolutely brand new factory edge, but the work that it's done has been light, I will say. So I think we could call it, you know, a factory edge to most intents and purposes at the level of what I'm doing here, you know. Amateur science. So yeah, this is a Bestech, also in MagnaCut, whereby we'll be able to see how a Kershaw blade in MagnaCut stacks up to a Bestech. If the Bestech makes it to 400 cuts, then I'll start putting more cuts on the Kershaw, and we'll be chasing each other until once again we have primacy. Now, one might be given to suspect that the Kershaw would be inclined to be the winner, but what do I know? That's just a prejudice, right? Because it's Kershaw USA, which for me is a more known entity than Bestech. I'm pretty sure this is the first knife from Bestech that I've ever even handled. Thanks for watching.